Welcome to A Woman's Voice, Empowerment Radio, where your voice is heard. Featuring your host, Christy Lee Tritz, international best-selling author, inspirational speaker, and women's empowerment coach. Christy Lee supports women to no longer live in silence, to find their voices and to have those voices heard to create change. Christy Lee's guests will inspire you, empower you, and show you how to overcome obstacles in your life. Guests will be sharing their stories of survival, how they moved through addiction, going from fear to empowerment, and how they came from silence to sharing their voices and being heard. Christy Lee will also be showcasing professionals who will give you powerful tools to move from where you are to where you want to be. Get ready to be encouraged and inspired. And now here's your host, Christy Lee Tritz.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm so glad you guys are along today. Today's quote is, "Before you speak, listen. Before you write, think. Before you spend, earn. Before you invest, investigate. Before you criticize, wait. Before you pray, forgive. Before you quit, try. Before you retire, save. Before you die, give." William A. Ward. Many of you who have been following A Woman's Voice Empowerment Radio know how much 2014 is a year of big dream building and change creation. A Woman's Voice Anthology Project is now accepting applications to help you build your dream of sharing your story and your voice with the world. Being a part of this project will help you not only share your voice, but if you are a business owner, coach, author, or a woman who depends on networks to thrive, it will provide you a platform in which you can gain credibility and visibility. This project is about you, your story. It is a community where you will find support, networking, knowledge building, and most of all, empowerment and inspiration. Get your application in today by visiting bit.ly/COLLABISFAB. And we're excited to announce that we have now found out who is going to write the foreword for the book. We will be welcoming a special person to the book. Her name is Kim Flynn. And we wanted to say today, thank her very much for being a part of this book. And now we're going to introduce you to our guest for today. Her name is Mary Kniebel, and she is known as the Moneypreneur because she helps strong, spiritual business women take control of their money so they can take control of their lives. She believes that everyone is entitled to a life of financial freedom, fun, and fulfillment. And she shows women how to transform their relationships with money so they can do just that. After working with Mary, clients report that money is no longer a struggle and that money is more like a loving, trusted partner. Welcome to the show, Mary.
Thank you. Hi, Christy Lee. I'm excited to be here and excited to connect with all your listeners.
It's great to have you, and I cannot wait to hear everything you have to tell us today.
Yes, I'm excited.
So could you tell us a little bit about your background and what made you become a moneypreneur?
Sure. Well, when I graduated from college, I did something different than most people do, and I actually hopped on a plane and went to Paris, France, and I just wanted to be free, and I just wanted to do my own thing. And so I hopped on this plane and I went to Paris, and I thought I would stay for a couple months, just kind of doing the, backpack around Europe thing. But I ended up staying for 2 years. And the way I did it is everything just kind of fell into place for me. Like I was so in my, I was so connected to like what I was supposed to be doing and just connected spiritually that I managed to find like a great apartment. And I found a job as a translator for an international law firm. And I just met all the right people. Everything fell into place. And so I ended up staying for 2 years and just loved it. But then I came back to the U.S. And I moved to Washington, D.C. and I got back into, the normal like rat race that, Americans, face. And I felt like something was, I just knew like this was not what I was supposed to be doing. Like I was not supposed to be working the corporate job, like riding the subway every day to work. And, everyone is just like so tired on the train. And you could just tell like, no one really wants to be there. But I did it for like 9 years. I just did the rat race, did it because that's what I thought, I was supposed to do. And more importantly, like I was scared of the money thing. Like I didn't know how I was going to pay my bills if I didn't have a job, obviously. And I finally, within the last year, decided like enough is enough. I was sick of being scared of money and feeling controlled by money. And, I had spent these 2 wonderful years in Paris after college, where I was like free and having fun and just, having so much, just like so much fun. And I was so excited. And, I was like, how did I end up going from there to where I am now? So in the past year, I've really, just looked at my relationship with money and I completely changed it. I broke free of the fears. And now I feel supported by money and adored by money. And I was finally, 6 months ago, I was finally able to leave the corporate world once and for all and, finally do like what I'm so passionate about. So now like I love helping other women do the same thing, women who want to kind of break free from their money fears and live the life that they want to be living.
It sounds like you've been on quite the journey from excitement right back to, excitement with a little bit of messiness in between.
A little bit of a detour.
Yeah, exactly.
A long detour. Yes.
So describe to me some of the feelings and emotions that happened when you found that your passion was for this specific area of people and that you were now able to live that. What was that like for you?
It was, it was obviously really exciting at first. Okay, I finally, I felt like really on purpose. Like I finally know what I want to do with my life, and I know I can help these people. But before I could do that, I had to face all this stuff within myself. So, we teach what we need to learn, and so before I could teach other women how to do this, I had to, heal all this within myself. And I was really scared by money. Like I was terrified of running out, terrified there would never be enough. And it's funny, like looking at me from the outside, you wouldn't know all of this because I didn't have any debts. I paid off my credit card every month. I had money in savings. I had investments. But like my relationship with money was so like dysfunctional, and I wasn't even like looking at my bills when they would come. And because I just was like in constant fear, and I was just so scared that money was going to run out. So that's why I was like saving so much and, not really like spending any money on myself. And so I was just going, I was just like going through the motions every day, like going to my job, not really taking care of myself, not really traveling, even though, travel is really one of my key values. So it was kind of like a weird dynamic where like I knew what I wanted to do and I knew I could really help people, but I had to like break through my own fear and, like all this stuff within me that was holding me back. So I had to kind of break through all that first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds like it was quite the personal journey.
Yes, it definitely has lots of ups and downs. Not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, I know. So can you describe to us what is like one's relationship to money? What does that mean, and how do you look at that as a relationship? Because you speak of that as a relationship. What does that look like? What should that look like for people?
Yeah, that's a great question, because a lot of people, myself included, like when we start this journey, we don't even know that we have a relationship with money. And I certainly didn't. Like I said, I wasn't opening my bills. Like I didn't check my bank account balance. Like I just hoped every month that there'd be enough money. And luckily there was. I mean, I know some people don't have that situation, but like I always did have enough money because I didn't spend. But, I just had like no connection with money. And so when I talk about having a relationship with money, it's kind of like having a relationship with a person. And, it's just like where you, connect with the person on a regular basis, and, you just have like kind of this give and take. And with money, like one of the first things that I help people do when they work with me is I help them think about, well, if money was a person in your life, what would the relationship be like? And a lot of women are just like blown away by this because A, they've never really thought of having a relationship with their money. But when they start to really think about it, they realize that their relationship with money is like, they're not really paying attention to their money, and they're not spending time with it, and they're not appreciating it, and all these things that if you were doing this in a relationship with a person, like of course the person wouldn't be there for you. And so when you start to kind of make this relationship with money, when you start to see it as just a relationship with a person, it helps you really get in touch with your money more. And get familiar with it and start paying attention to it more, and you realize like what feelings you've been avoiding and why you've been avoiding it. But yeah, I mean, most women, when I mention this to them, they've never thought about it before, and I certainly hadn't. But when you start to really think about it as just like a relationship you would have with a person, it really helps you transform everything.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, just hearing what you're saying, might want to break up that relationship because it's not going so good.
Exactly. Well, exactly. And like if you were being treated like that by, say, like a man in your life, like it's not a relationship you'd want to stay in necessarily.
So what are some common fears when it comes to money that you run across with your clients?
Yeah, a lot of it, the women I work with a lot, and it's probably because they're a mirror for me, but a lot of them it's like the fear that money is not really there for them. So, it might be in their account today, but they don't know if it's going to be in their bank account tomorrow. Or they don't know how they're going to pay their bills, or like if unexpected things happen. So it's this constant like fear of like, where's the money going to go? So they constantly think money is like leaving them, and there's not enough, and it's not going to be there for them. And what I think is like so fascinating is, again, going back to the relationship thing, when you really start to uncover like what your main fears are with money, whether it's like the fear of running out, or maybe you have like an overspending problem. Some women like have the opposite fear where they overspend. They spend all their money and they go into debt. But it's interesting because when you kind of like determine what your main fears are and what your main patterns are, and then if you compare that to your like romantic relationships in your life, there's actually like a lot of similarities. And it's like it's fascinating to me because it's, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so it's all connected. But so, like I said, like women I work with tend to worry about, money is not there for them and it's always leaving and, they never know where it is. And then I ask them, well, what are your romantic relationships like in your life? Or, what's your history with your romantic partners? And they say the same thing, like they never knew where their partners were, and they never knew when their partners were going to leave, and they always felt insecure around their partners. And so it's actually really cool because once you start to heal, one area of your life, it helps like heal the other areas of your life as well. So you kind of like kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think some of those fears are ingrained within you, and as you start to overcome them, you don't just overcome them in one area, you start to overcome them in all areas of your life.
Yeah, which is great. It's just like, like it takes, you don't have to put as much effort in because, like once you start to heal those fears and those limiting beliefs, when you start to heal them in one area, it just extends to the other area.
Mm-hmm. And like how you were talking about before, it's almost like the stalker relationship. It's always there. It's never going away. And you're like fretting about it every single day, every single moment. You're like, is there going to be enough? Am I going to be able to pay this bill? Da, da, da. And so that's sort of like the stalker relationship. You're like, is it going to be there?
Is it guys before? Well, yeah, I know. And it's like, it's really like eye-opening when you think about it because, I've stalked guys before. Not recently, but like, when I was younger, like definitely. And so, it's the same thing with money. Like I was constantly like, like you're just preoccupied by it and you're constantly worried about it. And like, you never know when it's going to be there for you or when it's just going to like leave. And you're constantly checking up on it. So like I definitely have that stalker relationship going on. Not a good thing.
No, that's
at
one
all.
of those relationships you don't want to have either, right?
Right. No, definitely. And if you think about it, like, again, going back to, like, if money is, like, your romantic partner, men will say they don't like to be stalked. So, like, it just pushes them further away. So money is the same thing. Like, if you have this needy, controlling energy around money, it just pushes money away, too. It's like the same type of thing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think putting it into the relationship aspect and looking at it that way, all of us understand what a relationship is. We've either been
Mm-hmm.
in one or we have one with parents or siblings or like we're in a relationship all day long with tons of
Right.
different people.
Yeah.
And so to put it in that makes the brain understand in a different way, like you said, looking at it at a completely different angle.
Yep. Yep, definitely. And you start to learn, like, money, like, it's when you start to realize that money is just energy, basically. And so when you realize that, and you realize that money just wants to be, treated like everything else in life, and you think about your relationships, like the people you're in relationships with, they want to be respected and appreciated and, seen for who they really are. And, like they want you to spend time with them. And so when you start doing all of that with your money, because money is just energy, it completely changes the dynamic for you.
Hmm. So how does changing one's relationship with money allow them to create more money?
Right. So once you start to get really comfortable with your money, once you start to get more familiar with it, and just like even intimate, if you want to use that word, then you, like I said, you completely change the dynamic. So you're no longer pushing money away. You're kind of like inviting it into your life. So in my case, like I said, I wasn't opening my bills. I had no idea how much was in my bank account. And once I started, now granted, it was scary. It was really scary for me. But like once I started, checking my bank account balances daily and, opening my bills when they came and, which is like such a concept. But, like once I started doing that stuff and getting more comfortable with it, like it's like I was no longer, pushing money away because I no longer had that like scared, needy, like controlling, frightened energy. And so then it was like, because I was more comfortable with money, like more could come in because it's like I said, it's just energy. And like once you kind of show the universe like, hey, like I'm gonna like open my bills when they come, the universe is like, oh, okay, she can handle more money because now she's familiar with it, like she's not scared of it, she understands it, like she's keeping track of it. That's keeping track of your money too is another tool which really helped me. So like every day I track how much money comes in. And this can be like your paycheck to finding a penny on the ground. And just to like notice like how much money really is flowing into your life. And, like if your parents take you out to dinner, like that's a free meal. And so just getting like really familiar with it and you realize like, wow, like money is actually flowing into my life a lot more than you realize. And so it's kind of just like you're opening up all these channels and you're paying more attention to the money that's already there. And so really it just opens up the possibilities for more money to come to you because you've gotten so much more comfortable dealing with it.
Mm-hmm. What about people who like don't really have money and they have like debts and they aren't able to pay their bills? How can they start that process? How can they they might say, for example, well, I do work a job, but I have absolutely no money left over. And
Yeah.
I have all this debt. So where do you start? Where are you going to start me in that process?
Yeah, I say the first thing, like I just mentioned, the first thing is to get really comfortable with your money. So if you're in that position where you have a lot of debt and you're not able to pay your bills, you're probably like not that comfortable dealing with your money. It's probably how you got in that place to begin with. So I say like just start tracking your money, like I just described, like just to get a little bit more comfortable with it. So you can take a sheet of paper and number it like 1 through 31. So for each of the days of the month. And every day that money comes in, you just write down, like for that day, how much money came in. And like I said, some days it's going to be like a paycheck, so it will be, a larger amount. And then some days it's like a penny that you find on the ground. And so you just fill that in. And some days you're not going to receive any, so you can just write a 0. But that will kind of help you just see, like, okay, there's money in my life, and it's flowing, and it's coming towards me. And so that, like, automatically takes you out of the the fear space of like, oh my God, I have all this debt. I can never pay my bills. And so that's an easy way just to kind of like immediately like take the pressure off and see, you know, like, oh my God, there actually is money coming into my life. And even if it's not like huge amounts at first, like it just kind of like creates a little space for you to receive more money. And then so you can start doing that. And then if you do have a lot of debt, I suggest, you know, start small. Like the whole point of this is like you don't want to get freaked out because I know especially for women, like money, it can just be scary. Like a lot of us are used to having men, you know, deal with the money and, you know, pay the bills and, you know, men take care of us. And it's kind of a new thing where women are you know, taking care of themselves. So we don't want to like scare anyone, but if you have debt, you can start by setting aside just a little bit every month to pay your debt, so to pay off your debt. So even if it's like $20 a month, you know, just start small and just get used to paying off your debt so that you get, you know, you're starting like new patterns and new habits. Another thing you can do is like all the money that comes to you. So like if you're working in a job and you know you get your paycheck, like just automatically set aside like you know a little bit out of each paycheck. You can have it automatically deposited in a savings account, just so that again like you can see like okay, like I am getting money. Money is coming in, and even if you just put like $10 aside from each paycheck in a savings account, like that's going to start to grow. And again, it's just going to kind of like change the whole vibration around money, and you're just going to begin to change the dynamic, and that will, you know, like people don't realize like this stuff, because money is just energy, like just like little shifts in the energy can create big changes for you.
Mm-hmm, for sure. What do you think holds women back from creating lives that they love when it comes to terms of money and, you know, chasing those dreams? So they'll stay stuck in a job that they absolutely hate because it brings them money, but at the same
Yes.
time, they absolutely hate their job. So
Yeah.
how do you find
For
that
years.
balance,
Yeah.
right?
Well, yeah, for years. I did that for years. And even though, I mean, I look at myself, like, I went to Paris right out of college and had this, like, amazing 2-year experience, and then I just went right back to doing the corporate thing. And, you know, it's like even me, like, I knew what else was possible, but I was still, like, terrified of the money thing. And so I think, you know, there's so much fear around money, like, how am I going to support myself? How am I going to pay my bills? And like I said, you know, in today's world, like it's kind of a new thing where women are, you know, more independent and are taking care of themselves. But a lot of us grew up with like, you know, dads who took care of the finances, or, you know, were in relationships where the men pay the bills. And so I think for women, it's just kind of like a new skill that we need to learn, you know, to learn how to deal with money and understand it. And, you know, like I just didn't understand it, and it was really overwhelming to me and scary, and I was uncomfortable with it. But I think, yeah, for a lot of women, like they don't even know there's another way out there, because, you know, like in society we're taught like stay in a job, get the benefits, you know, you got to pay your bills, you got to pay your rent every month. And so I think, you know, a lot of people just don't know that there's another way out there. And, you know, today society is moving more towards kind of being like an entrepreneurial society where a lot more people are starting their own businesses. But until you know, kind of work through some of this money stuff, it can be hard to, you know, start your own business or be successful in your own business because all this money stuff is holding you back. So I think the first thing for women, you know, if you're out there and you're in a job that you hate, like just be open to the possibility that things could be different. And, you know, maybe you can even find like a different job that you do like. And so, you know, if that's your first step, like start looking for a job that you do like, and just, you know, just start to think about different possibilities and start to open to things being a different way than they are currently.
Do you think sometimes too that as women, like, you know, we're more emotional towards it too, and so we attach a lot of emotion to making sure that things are taken care of and that everything has its
Yes.
place and all of those kind of things? Do you think that really plays a huge factor in it as well?
I do, and I think women also, you know, there's like self-worth issues in there, and so if you don't think you're worthy, you know, that's definitely tied to how much money you're making. And, you know, even at work, like if you're in a corporate job, you know, women are still paid less than men. Women typically have a hard time asking for raises or negotiating higher salaries. And I know myself personally, like I never negotiated. I was just like, whatever they offered, I'm like, okay, sure. Like, that's great. I'll start Monday. And, men just, it doesn't affect them. Like of course they negotiate for salaries and raises. And, when they change jobs, they just automatically assume that they're going to get, a higher pay at the next job. And they just, I think their emotions are not as tied to it. And they just, I think they're more comfortable with money and they're more comfortable asking for what they're worth. Whereas women, we tend to, put everyone else ahead of us. And it's hard for us to ask for what we want and what we're worth. And I find that too, a lot of women that I work with, even when they, if they start their own businesses, they have a lot of trouble asking, for money. Like, so if they're a coach and it comes time to like sign up a potential client or, to tell them their rates, like they really get stuck. Like everything can be going great. Like they can just have this great connection with a potential client. And then as soon as it becomes time to like tell them their fees or ask them if they want to work with them, they just get like frozen because all of a sudden it becomes about the money and like self-worth gets thrown in there. And like you said, like women just get more emotional and it's really hard for us, to just like really stand in our power and ask for what we're worth and, not give in to the other person and not to put everyone else first. So I definitely think it does have something to do with like how we are as women.
Yeah, and I think that's very powerful, like how you put it, asking for what you're worth, because you are worth something, and what you have to give is worth something, and what your idea is worth something, and why should you be worth any less than somebody else?
Right. And there's like a saying out there that for the entrepreneurs out there, like the fastest personal growth course out there, people say like the fastest personal growth course out there is to start your own business because I mean you can have like a beautiful website and you can just like everything can be perfect and then the minute you ask for like your rates or ask for what you're worth, you're gonna like all of your unhealed issues are gonna come racing to the surface and you're just gonna be like, whoa. So like everything you haven't dealt with, like any self-worth issues or self-esteem issues or like some women have fear of outshining others. Like that's another big one that comes up is like, powerful women, a lot of times when we're growing up, we're told to like be quiet and let the boys have the spotlight and like don't outshine your siblings. And, so again, like asking for what we're worth, I mean, that brings up all kinds of stuff, that we haven't necessarily dealt with yet. And so, like, if you want to work through that stuff, the fastest way to do it is just start your own business because it will all come rushing to the surface to be dealt with.
And I 100% can testify to that. I mean, even when it came to my book project and I was like, talking to the publisher of the project and I'm like, and we're talking about different things and she's like, so have you thought who you want to do the forward for your book? And I was like, well, I don't really know anyone. She's like, what do you mean you don't know anyone? And I'm like, well, I do know some people, but they're like more important, like they're more higher up. And she's like, so why can't you ask them? And I said, well, they're like more famous. And she's like, all the more you need to ask them because if they're people that you look up to, that's something that's important to you. And we are all worth the same. We all deserve the same respect and the same those kinds of things. And she said, all you can do is ask. And what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to say no. And if they say no, does that really matter? No, it just means that's not the right person for your project and go to the next one and keep asking until you get that right person. And I was like, okay, if you say so. And then you go and do it and every part, every bone, everything in your body is like freaking out. And it freaks out even more when you get that email back that says, yes. And you're like, now what?
It's very, I mean, it's amazing, like, because especially too, like, I'm a powerful, strong, woman, smart, intelligent, but oh my God, I mean, some of this stuff will just like completely, I mean, it's just all this stuff like that like you didn't even realize was in you. And it's just all this stuff like comes up that you have to deal with.
And when you start dealing with that, I find, you begin to realize that the things you're teaching other people, you're not really living sometimes. And
Of
the
course.
other thing
Yeah.
is that when you start pushing yourself past that point of where you feel like you're falling off that cliff and you're going to freak out, and then all of a
Right.
sudden you just like throw yourself out there and you're like, in the wind, let's just do this.
Right.
And then you do it and you're like, oh my gosh, I really just did that. And then it gives
Yeah.
you that power and that ability to keep doing that in other
Yep.
circumstances as well.
Yeah. And I think I don't know that it ever really gets easier because like you said, like the more you leap, so like you learn how to leap and the net appears. Like I've definitely had to learn that, like rather than waiting for the net to appear, like you leap and then the net appears. And I don't think that ever goes away. Like I think each like level, they say like new level, new devil. So like each time you like raise your fees or start a new project or, whatever, like put yourself out there, the fear still comes up and you still have to kind of like push through that terror barrier. But I think like you get better at managing it. Like as you keep going, you get more comfortable. You're like, oh, okay, this is just my fear. This is just like my fear trying to hold me back and protect me. But, I know that once I go through this, like on the other side of this is like, it's going to feel amazing. And yeah, like you said, I'm going to be just like flying in the wind. And I think you just get like better at like recognizing like, oh, okay. And you also recognize too, like I just said, like once you get to the other side, like everything is waiting for you on the other side of your fear. And so the faster you can just like blow through it, the better, so whereas like in the past, I would be caught up in my fear for like 6 months, like it just gets like shorter and shorter and shorter. Like then it becomes like a couple months and then you take action. And then it becomes like a couple weeks and then you take action. And then you start just like, just blowing through it because you know that like on the other side of that fear is like everything you want. And it actually can feel like really exhilarating. Like it's kind of like jumping out of an airplane. You're like, oh my God, I just did that.
I'm flying.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, wow, this is great.
It is for sure. And you're right. It's once you come through that. And sometimes, like I don't know about every woman, but it's almost like you feel like, okay, I have to have everything in order and I have to have everything ready before I start doing X, Y, and Z. You know what? If you just don't start doing anything before you get to X, Y, Z, you ain't going to get to X, Y, Z. So you might as well just jump now.
Yeah. Well, I think too, a lot of women, like myself included for sure, yeah, like we really fall into the perfectionism trap. And so, we don't want to like publish a blog post until it's perfect. And we don't want to like let people know about our website until it's perfect. And we don't want to, do whatever until it's perfect. But, that just, like you said, like you're never going to get there because if you keep waiting for things to be perfect, you're never going to get there because you're never even going to start. So it's better to start and like you'll figure it out as you go along and you can make changes and adapt and learn and grow as you go along.
And what I found is if you don't make that first step, there's always something new that's going to come up and you're going to say, okay, for example, well, first I need to build a website. And then you're going to build the website and then you're going to be like, well, first I need to get like something so that I can have emails come to me. And then you're going to be like, well. And pretty soon, 10 years has passed. You have gray hair, wrinkles falling all over your face. And you're like, well, I wish I would have just did it when I was younger.
Yes. And you also too, like one thing that I started to notice is like, okay, so while you're sitting on the sidelines waiting for your, perfect website or whatever, you notice that there are other people out there making a ton of money and they do not have perfect websites. And so that's right. And you're like,
totally right.
What? Yeah. And so you start to realize like you're actually the one holding yourself back because this other person is out there, they're signing up clients, they're making money, they're like doing speaking engagements, they're traveling, and they don't have a great website. And you're sitting at home, waiting for your perfect website and not making money and not doing what you want and like not fulfilling your purpose and not talking to ideal clients. And so it's actually you that you're the one kind of holding yourself back.
And when it comes to the asking for what you're worth, and when you put that out there, whether it's a coaching or a book project or whatever it is, and someone comes to you and says, I just don't think this is right for me. No, I don't want to be a part of it. We have to also remember that's not a reflection on us. That's really a
Right.
reflection on the other person not ready to make that leap like you made.
Yes. Exactly. And I think a lot of women in the beginning, and I mean, I do this too, but we take it personally and we beat ourselves up and we think we're not good enough and we think something's wrong with us. And, sometimes it's really just not the right fit. But if you think it's the right fit and the other person doesn't say yes to whatever, a lot of times it's because they're stuck in fear and they're just not ready to go for it yet. And sometimes I've had people call me back in a year and they're like, okay, now I'm really ready to go for it. So, sometimes you just kind of let it go, and sometimes they will come back to you later. But a lot of times it really has nothing to do with us. It's just that they're not ready yet, or they're in a fear storm, or, sometimes it's not the right fit. But a lot of times it's just they're not ready to take that step yet.
Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes that fear that we're talking about holds them back, and they don't see the true potential of whatever that is, whether that's like the coaching session, for example. You may fear that, well, you just don't have, let's just use this as an example. You don't have the money to pay a coach to coach you to do whatever it is that you want to do. And so you're going to try it on your own, but now it's going to take you twice as long because you don't have that person who can hold you accountable. You don't have that person you can connect to if something's not going correctly. You don't have that person to turn to if, you are getting in your way, where you're allowing those emotions of those people saying, oh, maybe not, get in the way. And then you stay stuck for way longer.
Yeah, and I actually wrote a blog about this not too long ago because it fascinated me. Whereas so I work with, women entrepreneurs who want to kind of heal their relationship with money so they can, stop working as hard and make more money. And so, I talk to these women on the phone, and a lot of them say the same thing. They want to heal their relationship with money so they don't have to worry about it anymore, so they don't have to feel, trapped by it, so they can start making their decisions from a place of what they want to do and what they know is meant for them, versus how much money is in their bank account. And so, I talked to these women, and there was one woman I spoke with, and I didn't even tell her the price of my program because I wanted to just kind of do an experiment. And so I didn't even tell her the price. And she was like, well, I just can't afford it. I was like, but I haven't told you the price. And it just it just occurred to me that she was saying I don't want to make decisions from my fear anymore. I want to be free of the money concern. I don't want to live like this anymore. And here I was giving her this perfect opportunity to step through the fear and not let the fear about the money concern you in this moment. Because I wanted to see so I didn't tell her the price intentionally. I wanted to see if she could just take the step without even thinking about money. And she couldn't do it. She just wasn't to that place. But it's you're saying, we have to, so many women hold themselves back because they're not willing to, step out there and trust and take that leap. And I mean, I've definitely been there. I mean, you kind of have to, learn to those trust muscles have to get developed. But, yeah, I mean, it's so funny to me because, these women, they want these, they want to be free and they want to leave their corporate jobs and they want to be free to travel as much as they can. But they expect it all to just kind of fall in their lap. And unfortunately, that's not how it works. I wish it was, but you do have to step through your comfort zone and step through your fear and put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, there are legitimate reasons why someone couldn't afford it at that point in time. And I'm definitely not saying that, every person who says I can't afford it really can, but they just don't want to put that investment in themselves. But I also think too, it probably has something to do with that I have to invest in myself thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And, yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it really is they just they don't have the money. But a lot of times money is just a cover up. I found a lot of times money is a very convenient excuse it kind of just like takes you out immediately. So, so like if you found this coach, like say it's like a relationship coach, and you know that this person is going to help you find your soulmate, you also know that in order to find your soulmate, you're going to have to like face a lot of stuff within yourself that you don't really want to deal with, or, that's scary or that you haven't really looked at before. And so you're like, part of you is so scared. And so it's really easy to be like, I don't have the money. But then like the same person the next week, like you'll see photos of them on Facebook and they're at like Disney World. And so you're like, you did have the money. And so it's just like, we always find the money for what we really, really want. And if you think about yourself, like if there's something you are dying to have, like you can always find the money. Like even if you have to go to your parents and just ask for money, like if there's something you really, really want, you will find the money. So a lot of times people use money as a convenient excuse to like not really like, take the steps forward that they need to take because it's scary and it's easier to just be like, I don't want to do this. I don't have the money right now.
And I think too, there's a difference between saying I don't have the money, end of story, and there's a difference between saying I don't have the money right now. In 6 months,
right?
Yep. I'm going to come up with a plan, and in 6 months, each month I'm going to save up X amount of dollars, keeping yourself, of course, accountable for that, and then. Doing that each month would allow you to be able to do whatever it is. I mean, we do that when we need to go on a vacation. So why wouldn't we do that when we need to invest in ourselves?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that's what you just said kind of determines, like, if you're going to be successful or not. And it doesn't have to be investing in a coach, but, like, when you truly, truly want something, like, rather than just letting all the excuses stop you in your tracks, like, you find a way to make it happen. And whatever it is, whether it's like finding the money to invest in a coach or, like whatever it is, like you, instead of just like stopping anytime you have an excuse, because there's going to be a ton of excuses that come up and tons of things that like seem to, get in your way, like all kinds of things are going to pop up. But if you truly want to be successful, like you find a way to work around those obstacles. And that's like what distinguishes those who really make it and those who don't make it.
Exactly. And I think there's so much that we hold ourselves back. And we allow, a lot of times it has to do with fear, right? And different fears for different things. And we hold ourselves back. And then we look back on our life. Like, I remember when I turned 30 and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm halfway to 60. I really need to think about this.
Right.
That's like amazing that I even got there. You know what I mean? But then you like start thinking backwards and you're like, boy, I haven't done this and I always wanted to do that and I haven't gone here and I haven't seen this. And then you start looking, wow, if I'm that old, my parents are this old and I haven't, and then you start freaking out because you're like, wow, my list just got like super long and I only have like this long before I'm feeble.
Yeah,
exactly. And so I think you have to also come to a point where you say enough is enough and I'm not going to let anything get in my way of chasing my dream.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you really do. Like, you have to get to that point where you're like, okay, I'm sick of, whatever it is. Like, if it's working at a job or, like staying in the relationship or, not losing the weight, like whatever it is, you have to get to that point where it's uncomfortable, because a lot of times, like, we stay in these conditions in our lives because it's comfortable. Like, it's easier to stay there and it's easier to not look at ourselves and it's easier to not like take risks. But at a certain point, it's probably going to become really, really uncomfortable. And that's like when you finally are like, enough, like I can't do this anymore. And that's when you'll like finally start to make the changes and start to take the risks and start to put yourself out there.
And the risk most of the times pays off. And the reason I say that is because even if through taking that risk, you learn something that like, well, this is not the job for you, or this is not the place for you, you still got something out of it. You learn that that's not what you're called to. That's not what makes you feel alive. And so you can move on to the next thing now, because now you know for sure, without a doubt, because you've actually allowed yourself to be placed there, to know that, okay, maybe that's not for me. That's not where I want to be. But how would you know that if you don't take that step?
Yeah, and I think, I think movement, as long as it's like intentional movement, I think movement is a lot better than just, even if you make mistakes and, like you have to try things over. Like, I think you're actually getting more out of, moving and taking action and trying things than just like sitting there. It's like there's a saying that's like the car is like, I don't know, better when it's in motion or something. So like if a car is just sitting there, it's not doing anything. But when it's driving and it's in motion, like at least it's getting somewhere. Even if you take wrong turns or, whatever, like you're still eventually getting somewhere.
And not only that, if that car sits there for long enough, the only thing it's going to do is rust. Who wants to turn into a rust bucket?
Yes, and the tires will deflate. Not be a good.
Sounds like aging.
yeah, that too. So yeah, you just got to keep going and learn to embrace. Like another thing too is like learn to embrace the mistakes because it's going to happen. Like you're gonna say stupid things and you're gonna make mistakes and you're gonna write blog posts that people don't respond to or resonate with or whatever. But like it happens and it happens to everyone and you just keep going because it doesn't, like that's just one little thing. It doesn't define all of you.
Exactly. So how do you help with your coaching? How do you help women move past where they are at this point in time, whatever that looks like for them, to go to a place where they're working less but making more of an income and an impact?
Yeah, so I work with women who have become slaves to their businesses, and they just they feel trapped, and they're fighting burnout. And so I help women then discover like how to make their money work for them, so they feel supported by their money, so they can live the life of their dreams. So because there are women out there who have left corporate America, and they're now like in a business that they like or they love, and they're making money, but they're still working too hard for the money. So I help them, we really get in there and we fine tune like your relationship with money, lots of limiting belief work. A lot of women still have these beliefs that like making money has to be hard and, I can't enjoy my life and make money at the same time and I have to sacrifice my personal life to make money. And so a lot of it is just like, rewiring and transforming your relationship so that you can have it all. So like you can have a business you love that makes a ton of money, and you can have enough to have enough time to travel and spend time with your family. So it's kind of like rather than being in an either or situation, it's having an and situation where you get both. So you give yourself permission to have it all. Like you could have a great family life and like the hot sex life with your husband and the business that you're passionate about and the money to do all these things that you want and go shopping and travel. So a lot of it is like giving yourself permission. Because, a lot of women don't give ourselves permission to have it all. We think we have to sacrifice for everyone else. And, we don't have to do that anymore. And so I really help women like learn that they can have it all. And like, that's what we're here to do. Like we're here to live lives to the fullest. And like we're here to live abundant lives. And so I just help women like really get in touch with that and really own it, like deep in themselves.
And I think the more that you get in touch with that part of you and the more that you own it and the more that you live your passion, it's amazing how much like your relationships that's around you, like you said, like your husband or even your kids, that even begins to change to a point where you're like, it's almost like falling in love all over again.
Yeah, well, absolutely, because like you're happier and you're more fulfilled, and like you have more free time now. So maybe you're going to the gym more. So you're losing weight. So your husband's more attracted to you, and you're going for runs more, and like you're spending more time with your kids because you have more energy. Or it's just it's like a ripple effect. It affects all the different areas of your life, and like you just feel happier and lighter, and just and you feel like universe or God or source or whatever you believe in, like, is actually there for you and, like, wants to support you in having the life of your dreams. So, like, you no longer feel like it's you against the world. Like, you feel like you're really supported in having the life of your dreams. And it's just such a good, positive feeling.
So now that you've starting to live in that life, how is that transformation for you? How do you feel day to day, waking up, knowing that you get to help other people do the same thing that you've learned to do?
Yeah, oh my God, it's just light. Like, I have to say, like, it just feels so much lighter because I remember what it was like to be in a job I hated. Like, and I had several jobs. I I had no problem finding jobs. But I was always, like never fulfilled. And I always worked in human resources. And so I always got to see the salaries that everyone made. Like everyone always made more than I did. Okay. Regardless of where I worked, because like I didn't know how to ask for what I was worth, and I would just take whatever they gave me. And so I would see like the so-and-so down the hall who, normally they were like younger and not as good as I was and not as efficient, and they'd be making way more money. But I would just, I would sit there every day and I was resentful and it's just miserable. So anyway, like now that I get to work from home and now that I get to help women like get away from that and just know that like, just to know that like money is there for you and not have to worry about it as much, and like be able to go to the store and, even like grocery shopping and be able to buy like what you actually want to buy to feed your family, but, rather than like what you have coupons for. Like, because I've been there, just like I know how bad it was, and I know how much lighter I feel now. And so to help other women get to that point where they're just like, wow, like you just, like I said, you feel so much more supported, and it doesn't feel like it's you against the world. So yeah, like because I've been through it, like I love helping other women go through it as well, and they just feel so much more supported, and I love giving them that feeling.
Mm-hmm, for sure. And I think, as women, we are drawn to supportive communities, and the more supportive that we can be of each other, where each other is, and whether that is you work in the corporate world or you whatever your position looks like at that point in time,
right.
The more support that you feel like you have from other people, I think the more that you start to enter into that place where you're accepting of who you are, and that your ideas are worth something, and that you even are worth more than what you know. Because a lot of us, I think, discount ourselves and put ourselves on this little discount rack with we have pink stickers here. Pink sticker that says like 50% off, and then there's like so-and-so walking down the road. She ain't with the 50% off sticker. And you're like, well, what's the difference?
Yes. And I would say like surrounding yourself with people who like really see you for who you are makes a huge difference. And I have to be honest, like sometimes when you do this type of work and you really go for your dreams, like your friends may change, like because not everyone is on the same path as you. And so that can, a lot of people, women especially, like we're so used to, like we're relational people and we like to keep everyone happy. And it can be uncomfortable when like dynamics in certain friendships and relationships change. But I think it's really key, like if you want to do this, if you really want to go for it, to be surrounded by people who like believe in you, who uplift you, who support you, and who tell you to go for your dreams, rather than being like, oh my God, that's never going to work, and you're crazy, and I can't believe you're doing this. Like I can't believe you want to leave your job. Like, how are you going to pay your bills? Like that stuff is not helpful,
No.
At all. So instead, like, you want to surround yourself with people who are like, yeah, like go for it. I believe in you. Like, let me know how I can help you. Let me know how I can support you. So I think that's really important too.
And that's something that I take and I value very much. And so, for example, with my book projects or any of the projects that I do, I always try and make sure that the people who are a part of that know that I'm there no matter what. Because I think it's important that like you said, as women and as people in general, that we feel accepted for who we are, and that our ideas are not dumb, but they're ideas just like, ideas in the past that took time to create. They're not something that just happens overnight.
Yes. And I wanted to say too, like for anyone who's listening to this right now, if you just want to like shoot me an email and just even like run something by me, like I want to be there for as many people as possible, even if, just to, if you have a question or want to bounce something off me, because I know what it's like to not have anyone who supports you. So my website is www.moneypreneurs.com, and there's like a contact form on there. And if you just shoot me an email and just say, hey, like I heard you on the radio show, and if you have a question, because I remember like when I was working in corporate America, and even when I was starting my business, most of my friends definitely didn't understand what I was doing. My family really did not understand what I was doing. like at all. And so, sometimes like just to have someone to like bounce ideas off of is really helpful. So, go to my website, moneypreneurs.com, shoot me an email, and I'll be supportive of you. I will, support you and help you just, even decide like if it's a good idea or not, because I know what it's like to not have anyone else to bounce ideas off of.
Can you do me a favor and can you spell out your website for people in case they're
Sure.
not sure how to spell it?
Yeah, it's www.moneypreurs.com.
Okay, perfect. And do you have a Facebook page as well?
I do. Right now it's just my personal one, but people can definitely come friend me on that. It's Mary.Kniebel, Kneb as in boy, EL.
Oh, that's perfect. So I know we're coming close to the end of the show right now, and what I really want you to do is if you can do for me, share with us just a few tips that people can take away from today's show and utilize those when it comes to having their voice, when it comes to money, creating their dreams, those kinds of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, you have to believe, like deep down, that you're worth it. That that you're worth it. Like that you're meant to have the life of your dreams, whatever that is for you. Like for some people, it is working a corporate job because they love that. And for others, it's, having their own business. Whatever it is for you, like, know that you're worth it and know that, you have your dreams for a reason. Like, you have those particular dreams because you are meant to live that life. And so first begin to just believe, like, oh my gosh, I am meant to have this amazing life and I can have it. And so just start, do some journaling around that. If you have like a friend that you can talk to about this stuff, just to kind of like get the ideas rolling, flowing. In terms of your money, like just for me, like honestly, like I said earlier, just opening my bills was like a huge thing. Like this, and it sounds crazy, but like just to get more comfortable, like, and if feelings come up, because I had huge feelings come up, like just get out your journal and journal about it and like see what's coming up. And like I said earlier, begin to track your money and just, if you find pennies on the ground, like write it down on your tracking sheet and realize that like money is flowing into your life, money is there for you, and try to be grateful for that. And just realize like every penny you find is like a sign that you're, on the right path and moving in the direction of your dreams.
And here in Canada, we don't have the penny anymore. So every 10 cents or 5 cents you find. We'll put it that way.
Okay, yes. Whatever you find works. Exactly.
Yeah, we just got rid of our pennies, I think, like a year ago. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes.
I haven't been finding as many.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And sometimes, too, like, every once in a while I find, like, a quarter or, whatever. And when I find a quarter like that, I mean, I hit the jackpot when I find a quarter.
That's awesome. I remember there was one day I was walking in the grocery store parking lot and I was like, $10? Are you kidding me? This is like the jackpot.
Yeah, I mean, if you find like actual money, that's huge. Like dollar bills, that's huge.
And then I'm like looking around to see if there was anyone there, right? Because I'm like, well, maybe they just dropped it. There's like nobody there. And I'm like, what do I do with it? It's not like it has like a serial number according to the person who lost it.
Right. Yeah, I remember one time I was walking by an ATM and like $40 literally flew out. And I was like, I did like what you did. I looked around, like no one was there. So I ended up keeping it, and I took my boyfriend at the time out for a nice dinner that night.
That's awesome.
Right? Because I'm like, well, guess this is for me. So,
I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed having you on the show, and I cannot wait to connect with you after the show for sure. I am going to do that. You can keep me to that word. If I don't, you can let my whole Facebook community know that I didn't do it, but I promise I will.
Awesome. Great. Well, yeah, this has been really fun, and I'm so glad I got to connect with you and connect to everyone listening.
Yeah, you as well. And so, listeners, I'm so glad that you guys could be along the journey today with me and Mary. And don't forget to make sure that you get your applications in for the book project. Again, The address for that is bit.ly/COLLABISFAB. That's collab is fab. Because we know that collaboration is the way to go, because then you have everyone on your team. Thank you very much for listening to this show, and I look forward to seeing you not next Thursday, but the one after that, because I'm off to Utah.
Thank you for joining Christy Lee and her guest on the show today. Tune in to A Woman's Voice, Empowerment Radio, every Thursday at 1 Mountain Standard Time. This station is made possible by generous donations made by our listeners. To donate, please visit ChristyLeeTritz.com and keep helping us share women's voices. Have a blessed day full of inspiration.